What up? Hey guys, it's me. Funky hairstyle today because I just felt like it, so deal with it. Today is gonna be I'm hoping I'll make this video interesting, but today I'm gonna be talking about books. Today I'm gonna be talking about all the books that I read this school year because I'm done with school. I'm done with junior year, guys. The rumors were true, junior year was actually HE double hockey sticks, but I'm finally done with it, and now I'm technically a senior. No. No. No, I don't want to be a senior. Yeah, anyway, I actually read this year. My love for reading has come back, and it's so great. I love it because I used to love reading.
The fourth thing that you should know about me is I love reading,
but kind of fell out of it. So let me try to carry. These are all the books that I read, and I know this doesn't seem like that much considering the school year is pretty long, but this is a lot for me. Going from nothing to all this, that's pretty great. Doing this in order of when I read each of these books. I'm gonna give you guys a little synopsis a little bit. To be honest, I might not even remember the plot of some of these books, but also a review, a 5-star review, right? Let's get to it. Okay, the first book that I read, and I honestly feel like this is the one that got me back into reading really because it was so freaking good. I started reading this book because it was suggested by my librarian. Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds. Guys, this book is so... If you're gonna get it, or just when you're gonna get it, because you're gonna love it. Don't get the graphic novel version, just get the regular version. It is one of those books where it's not a lot of words, it's kind of like poetry, and it's so freaking good, guys. Oh my gosh. I love Jason Reynolds now. I just love his style of writing. It's pretty cool. I don't want to spoil the book, so I'm just gonna say what it says on the inside, which says 60 seconds, 7 floors, 3 rules, 1 gun. So if that doesn't intrigue you, I don't know what will. I just love his style of writing so much. I have to say one line that stuck out to me, and it's not even that crazy, but it was just cool. Note to self: ringing in your ears sounds less like a bell and more like a flat line. And that was a cool line. I was like, oh snap. There's another one, but if I said it, then I would spoil the book. So it's just really good and really thought-provoking. Boom, you guys should read it. So good, and it made me want to read more because I was that was so amazing. But this next book, this one was okay, I want to start reading. This next book is okay, I'm obsessed with books. This is why I am living right now, because this book exists. It's so freaking good. The Silent Patient. Oh, I did not rate this one. This one gets a 5 stars, duh. This one gets a 500 stars. This is tied for my favorite book. I have another favorite book, which is the next one, but so pretty much it's about, I'm kind of just tempted to read what's on the inside, but pretty much there's this girl, and one day she shoots her husband in the face 7 times, I think. Don't quote me on that. And then she decides to go mute for the rest of her life. And then many years later, a psychotherapist, Theo Faber, decides that he wants to kind of help her out, dig deeper on why she's mute, why she did this deed, because she was normal, and then she just does this, and it's pretty crazy. So yeah, and a bunch of crazy things happen, and it's so cool. And guys, the twist at the end actually made me scream. It was crazy. But the twist at the end, guys, it'll blow your mind. You have to read this book. It's so good. People say that the beginning is kind of slow, and it kind of is, but honestly this was such a good page turner. Sorry, but when it comes to reading, if it doesn't interest me, and if I am very aware that I'm reading, then I just don't have any interest. But this one, I forgot I was even reading, and I was just oh my gosh, what's gonna happen next? Next book. My One True Love. And I've already talked about this book on my channel, but A Good Girl's Guide, Tamada. These 2 books are tied as my favorite books. When I talk about a page turner, this was lightning fast. Oh my gosh, what's gonna happen next? What's gonna happen next? It was so freaking good. And also the characters, I loved the characters. I never really experienced that with books where I'm oh my gosh, I love this character. For this series, it's I'm reading it for the characters, and I just want to know if they're safe. I want to know what's gonna happen. It's so great. Absolutely read this book. It's so good. And pretty much, if you're wanting to know, I'm just gonna read the back. Pretty and popular high school senior Andy Bell was murdered by her boyfriend, Sal Singh, who then killed himself. It was all anyone could talk about. And 5 years later, Pip sees how the tragedy still haunts her town. Now, a senior herself, Pip decides to re-examine the closed case for her final project, at first just to cast doubt on the original investigation. But soon she discovers a trail of dark secrets that might actually prove Sal innocent, and the line between past and present begins to blur. Someone in Fairview doesn't want Pip digging around for answers, and now her own life might be in danger. Did I rate this? This also gets a 500 stars out of 5. So the next book is Sadie. I got this book for Christmas from my friend Megna. Thank you, Megna. I would give this one, like, unfortunately, like, I read this after like 2 amazing books, so like kind of hard to live up to that, so I give this probably a 4. I didn't really like the ending, to be honest. Like, it was kind of unsatisfying to me. This was pretty interesting, and like it went this was
It's actually been a really cool thing, and I'm actually...
That's the indication of someone who doesn't know that they made the right decision right there.
Yeah.
You know, it's actually been a really cool thing.
This was pretty interesting. But this was really cool. It had like it jumped back and forth. And yeah, I was kind of, to be honest, in the beginning of reading this book, I was like focused on something else while reading it. And I kind of like wasn't paying attention, but I was already too far in to like want to go back. So I just dealt with it. So maybe that was kind of an issue, but it was still pretty good. And I recommend. On popular radio personality Wes McCrae receives a desperate phone call from a stranger imploring him to find 19-year-old runaway Sadie Hunter. He's not convinced there's a story there. Girls go missing all the time. But when it's revealed that Sadie fled home after the brutal murder of her little sister, Maddie, Wes travels to the small town of Cold Creek, Colorado to uncover what happened. That's all I want to say. There's like more in the back, but it's pretty interesting and kind of just like, okay, cool. Next book is one that I do not have a physical copy of because my friend lent it to me. Thank you, friend. But next book is We Were Liars, right? That's what it's called. That book gets like a 3.5. It was okay. I was very confused, to be honest. And also my friend put it in a really good way. Like, the writing felt very detached, as in like it didn't feel like, I don't know, just read the book and find it for yourself. Yeah, the twist at the end was kind of like, okay, what? Excuse me, what? Like, very confusing, but yeah, I wasn't too crazed about this book either, and I was just like, okay, cool. That's all I have to say about that. Also, I don't really remember what it's about, so I think that's a bad sign. Next books. Good Girl, Bad Blood and As Good as Dead. The next two books in the A Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. Phenomenal work here. Good Girl, Bad Blood is like kind of competing with A Good Girl's Guide to Murder and like which one I like more. But I think it's the first one's my favorite, but like still this one's so good. This one will blow your mind when you read it. Ravi and Pip are just so freaking cute in this book. Like, Ravi is actually my everything. He's just so amazing, and I just feel like, can we just all have a Ravi in our life? You know what I mean? This one is like, again, like the mystery, like kind of aftermath. There's another missing person that Pip needs to find. This one is like kind of her dealing with like mental issues, I guess. I don't want to give away too much. You just need to read the whole series. These books I like read in a day, which is like pretty insane for me, and I felt very cool and it's like the best feeling when you finish a book. Next book, All American Boys by Jason Reynolds. Remember him? And also Brendan Healy. So yeah, this one was really good. I give it probably a 4.5 just because some parts were boring, so I'm like, okay. Also, when I was reading it, I accidentally I was like in a weird position, and the next day I threw out my back, and I had a soccer showcase that day, so like that was kind of really bad, so thanks a lot. But yeah, this was really good, and this was really good on like giving me like a different perspective on things. This was a solid book. I just love the way my buddy Jason. I just love the way Jason writes. It's from the perspective of two people, so it's pretty cool. Yeah, and pretty much it says Rashad is absent again today. That's the sidewalk graffiti that started it all. Well, no, actually, a lady tripping over Rashad at the store making him drop a bag of chips was what started it all, because it didn't matter what Rashad said next, that it was an accident, that he wasn't stealing. The cop just kept pummeling him over and over. Then Rashad, an ROTC kid with mad art skills, was absent again and again, stuck in a hospital room. Why? Because it looked like he was stealing, and he was a black kid in baggy clothes, so he must have been stealing. And that's how it started. And that's what Quinn, a white kid, saw. He saw his best friend's older brother beating the daylights out of a classmate. At first, Quinn doesn't tell a soul. The whole thing was caught on camera anyway. But when the school starts to divide on what happened, blame spreads like wildfire, fed by ugly words like racism and police brutality. Quinn realizes that, bystander or not, he was a part of history, and just has to figure out what side of history that will be. Rashad and Quinn, one black, one white, both American, face the unspeakable truth that racism and prejudice didn't die after the civil rights movement. There's a future at stake, a future where no one else will have to be absent because of police brutality. They just have to risk everything to change the world, because that's how it can end. So yeah, I really like books like these and like murder mysteries. It's kind of like contrasting, but it's interesting. And yeah, next book, one that a lot of people know, I'm sure. The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I would probably give this book a 2.5 stars. I didn't really like this book. I feel like so many people are gonna be mad at me, and I'm not saying this to be different or anything. Like, I genuinely didn't really enjoy this book. I mean, I think I'd give it like a 3.5 actually. 2.5 is pretty. The reason why I didn't like this book was because if it was really repetitive to me, and I'm not gonna say why it was repetitive because it'll give stuff away, but yeah. And also the twist at the ending was not even a twist. Like, I was like, okay. I did not really care. I feel bad, but it's just like, okay, I was kind of bad at explaining why I didn't really enjoy this book, so I'm just gonna do it really quickly right now. I think the reason why this book is rated so low for me is because, first of all, my expectations were so high. Like, when I was in Barnes & Noble's, this was the first book I grabbed. And then, like, I was looking around for other books. And 2 workers on 2 separate occasions came up to me and were like, that book is so good. Like, you won't regret reading it. Like, okay. And also one of my friends, who's, like, the biggest book nerd I've ever met, is like, this is one of my favorite books now. And I'm like, oh dang, like, then this must be really good. Also, I guess I don't really like drama books. I just, like, don't really care, I guess. And also, the romance was, like, too much for me at times. Like, it felt like, I felt very intrusive sometimes, and I'm like, should I be reading this? This seems really intimate, and I feel like I'm, like, just standing in the corner of the room where it's happening. I'm like, oh, my bad. That's what I have to say. Please don't be mad at me that I didn't really enjoy this book. I'm sorry. Next book. I added it in just so the stack could look bigger, but no big deal. I read Christopher Robin, The Little Book of Pooisms, with help from Piglet, Rabbit, Eeyore, Owl, and Tigger too. Loved this book. Actually, I'd give it a 4.5 stars out of 5 because it literally did not put a quote, my favorite Pooh Bear quote, in here. And like, they had the perfect opportunity to, and they just didn't. And I'm very upset about it, but pretty much it's just like Pooh Bear quotes. And I read this for an essay of mine in class, and see all the sticky notes because I am organized like that. But the thing I'm upset about, so there's different sections. There's like adventures, little nothings and somethings, fitness, 100 acre wisdom, and then at the bottom, the last section is obviously endings. And you know, I had really high hopes that they'd put in my favorite Pooh Bear quote, which is, what is it? It's on my desk. How lucky am I to have something that makes saying goodbye so hard? Why am I standing like that? Okay. I love that quote so much, and it just makes me think about like all I'm grateful for, you know, and it's just like such a beautiful and simple quote. But look, they don't have it. They don't have it in this book. Who's the author? Who collected all these things? Because you just missed like the golden opportunity. Okay, great. Now I have to end with this book. The final book that I read this year, and kind of was the reason why this stack is a lot shorter than it could have been, because this book took me forever to read. The Inheritance Games. I know so many people like this book. I hated this book. I hated this book. I don't know why. Actually, I do know why, but like I feel bad because I know so many people like this book, and I hated this book. This took me like 2 months to read. Like, it took forever because I was just like, I could not wait to put it down. We did book presentation things in class, and this guy was like, you know, this book was really boring and I couldn't wait to put it down, but you know, I give it a 4 out of 5 stars. What? It was pretty funny, but yeah, same. I could not wait to put this book down. I didn't like the main character. I didn't like the romance. Like, at least have good romance. Like, I didn't really care for anything that was happening. Here, wait, let me like read the back. Amy Grams has a plan for a better future: survive high school, win a scholarship, and get out. But her life changes in an instant when billionaire Tobias Hawthorne dies and leaves her virtually his entire fortune. The only catch: Avery must move into a sprawling mansion full of secret passages, riddles, and codes. Unfortunately for Avery, Hawthorne House is also occupied by the family that was just disinherited. This includes the 4 Hawthorne grandsons, dangerous, magnetic boys who grew up with every expectation that one day they would inherit billions. Heir apparent Grayson is convinced that Avery is a con woman, and he's determined to take her down. But his brother Jameson views her as their grandfather's last hurrah, a twisted riddle, a puzzle to be solved. Caught in a world of wealth and privilege, with danger around every turn, Avery will have to play the game herself just to survive. That sounds so good! Like, it checked all the boxes. It sounded like one of my favorite books when I was younger is Mr. Lemoncello's Library. Freaking loved that book. It kind of sounded like that. Like, oh, there's gonna be riddles, there's gonna be codes, it's gonna be really crazy, and it just like wasn't delivering like it should have. Also, like, the only reason why, like, what kept me going, like, I could have just put the book down and just said, okay, I'm over this. But I was just waiting for why she was picked. And the reason was so dumb. It literally made me want to pull out my hair. Like, and the ending, like the actual ending, like leaves on a cliffhanger. So you made me read this whole book just to tell me that I need to get another book? No. So I'm not. And I just asked my friend what happened, and it sounds really stupid. So I'm glad I did not waste my money on that. It was like a lot like Knives Out, which was kind of cool. There was some like parts where I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that's happening. But in the end, I like did not care. Would I give that 2 stars? Maybe even a 1. I hate that book. Those are all the books that I read this school year, which was 11 books. Double digits, baby. That's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it wasn't that boring, and I hope you guys enjoyed watching me rant about the inheritance games. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys did, please give this video a huge thumbs up. Please comment down below any video suggestions. And also forget to subscribe to become part of my Fuzzy Wuzzy army. And also forget to share my channel with your friends and family. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Bye! Fuzzy Wuzzies out!